Welcome to Sikorski's Think Abouts, and I'm your host, Laura Sikorski. My goal is to have all companies thinking like a customer when developing and implementing customer programs, services, and products. Our guests provide answers to customer service, customer experience, and technology operations issues that our viewers may be facing. Bottom line, we suggest think-abouts that will increase customer satisfaction, retention, and revenue. Joining me today is Susan A. Hayes, who is a business executive for over 30 years with Verizon. And our timely topic, I think, is what to consider when developing a Voice of the Customer program. She currently supports the region's president and was responsible for Verizon's retail channels, which for the Verizon Wireless, right? Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And it was over 300 retail outlets here in the tri-state area. Mm-hmm. Prior to that, Susan was a director of government and external affairs for New York, and that was government relations programs, outreach programs, and really it was strategic brand exposure that you had done for Verizon. Mm-hmm. And she was also very involved in getting BIOS TV kicked off the ground. She was in 2012 and 2010. She was named top 50 businesswoman, one of the top 50 businesswomen for Long Island Business News, and for the past 17 years has been very active in our Huntington Chamber of Commerce. And this is Susan's second visit with us, and we are extremely excited to have her back. And so welcome.
Well, thank you, Laura. Thank you for having me back as well. It's very exciting to be here. I appreciate it.
We got a lot of great feedback from your last show, and when we were talking about what to present this time, everybody's talking about voice of the customer, voice of the patient. What are we doing today that are going to keep our customers loyal to our brand, loyal to our product? So Susan has put some really great slides together, and so here we go.
All right. Well, voice of the customer has really evolved over the years. You know, when I started many years ago in my career, it was really customer satisfaction surveys, and that's what started. But now it's just the evolution of this is really about what is your customer saying about you today, and how can you keep that customer going forward. It's one thing to get sales, right? We all measure a business in revenue and sales. But sales is only one indicator. It doesn't indicate the loyalty that customer has to you. So what is voice of the customer? It is really the wants and needs of that customer to your product. And in this case, it's about a process, right? So this is about a formal process that a business can put together to find out what their customers are thinking about them. It could be through text or speech recognition when you look at it from a call center perspective, or even into social media, which we'll talk about a little later. But it's just a real market research. You know, that's really what it is. It's a bundled, more formal market research as to what your customers think about you.
And so it really comes back down to that whole issue of customer experience that people are talking about today. So is you want that warm and fuzzy, and you want to know, are you really providing that warm and fuzzy to your customers? And that's why I think a voice of the customer, voice of the patient program is so important to develop.
Yeah, no, it's really invaluable because knowing what they're saying will drive your improvement strategies, you know, to keep customers as you go forward. So this slide in particular is really just about what are the business challenges, right? And so you've already mentioned a few of them. There's three key areas here, and that is to measure customer loyalty, and that is by doing benchmarking, you know, within yourself, but also something that I'll be speaking about a little later on, the Net Promoter Score, or NPS, and I'll really blow that out. But that's really to uncover what makes customers loyal to you.
Now, is this something that you hire an outside firm to do for your company, or can you do it internally?
You can do it two ways. You can do it with ease from outside support. There are companies out there, you just have to put this topic in to a Google search and you'll have more software companies that come back to you. It's about really your integrated approach though, so you could use a vendor to help you and you can also do it yourself. I think today there's just such technology out there that these vendors have become key at understanding how to drive this then through your company. And I'll talk about a little later some of the keys to success on that.
Perfect.
But it's between the loyalty, but then it's also a benchmark between you and your competitors. And you could always take that one step further. But how do you measure up to your competitors? What are they doing? How do you compare? And that's just some additional questions that can be woven into a voice of the customer survey or indicators. And then the last is your brand perception and awareness. Your particular brand has someone may have a relationship to your brand. What is it? You want it to be positive. I mean, that's really that's the goal of it. So it's just really three areas to think about.
Consider. I love when you say think about. She's my friend.
Yeah. Well, of course you need to think about it, Laura. Of course.
Okay, the infamous Net Promoter Score. I mean, a lot of times people will say, what the heck is it? And it is such a simple thing.
NPS, or Net Promoter Score, as you've already mentioned, is something that was introduced, I think, in about 2005 or so. Again, taking it beyond just customer satisfaction survey, right? And NPS, the bottom line is really one question, which we'll talk about in a second. It is it has become a very popular way. Large companies have been doing this for a while now, which is really now mitigating into smaller and medium-sized companies. But it's about to have promoters to your brand, promoters to your company versus detractors. And those promoters are really just on the very end. So it's a 1 through 10 rating scale. Too high end, 9s and 10s, those are your promoters. Your detractors are really on the bottom, and then you have your neutral position in the middle. But this is the big question, right? It's just so simple. How likely is it that you, right, you're saying this to the customer, would recommend our company to a friend or colleague?
And that's such a basic 101 question.
So simple.
And it's amazing and how many people don't ask. Do you like me enough to recommend me?
To bring a friend, to bring a family member to that business, to buy that product. It's just so simple. And I'll just use this anecdotal story about a great NPS situation. About a year ago, one of my sons for graduation received a gift card from Nordstrom's. Last thing that this kid was going to do is go to Nordstrom's. But his mother knew that I don't want to shop with him. They have great customer service. Let's get him with a personal shopper. This kid went with a personal shopper, had the greatest experience. Personal shopper still followed up with him through the year, somehow connected up with my son about telling him what a great experience it was, who connected up with another kid, and the day after Christmas, would you think that there'd be some 23-year-olds going in to buy suits at Nordstrom's in Roosevelt Field? All of that was about extreme promoting. And when you think about Nordstrom's, they're known for their customer service.
Right.
And this is full circle because look at all those sales that were yielded. And they have new customers for life.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Great story.
Yeah,
Great story. And especially kids today, and I shouldn't say kids, young gentlemen today, you can't wonder why they would even go to Nordstrom's, I mean, they would think about going somewhere else,
Completely. But that shows you the value of that exceptional customer experience that his first friend received, and he did as well. Because I will tell you, he came home in this case, and he'll be going back. Like when he saves his money, but when would he going back to buy some more things in the future?
Sure.
So,
great
just
story.
a very very simple NPS focus.
So let's talk about feedback, and we all know about channels. We had a show one time before about channels and how do you make sure that you talk the same talk on each channel, and that if you start off on voice or you start off on the web and then you go down to voice, is that path that you took going to go with you, so wherever you end up, the person that you're speaking with or the person you're chatting with has your story.
Right.
And I guess this has to be the most important part of the whole voice of the customer, is how are you grabbing all that feedback? So let's kind of talk about, your slide here, particularly on real time.
Well, there's a lot of information on this particular slide, and the point of today is that we've come such a long way in terms of understanding customers and what they think, from years ago with just a simple satisfaction survey to maybe focus groups. Now, the analytics are out there and the software that's out there to capture information. So from a real-time perspective, it could be through texting, SMS, texting. You can get information immediately as you've left a store or while you're in there. There's text analytics that are out there grabbing information, right? And then whether it's a URL or even just the whole mobile integration, because so much is really done on the smartphone these days. And real time, you can share information as a customer to the area. So if you're in a store, I was just thinking of Banana Republic. They have a really advanced customer feedback loop going on that you can get information right there on your smartphone just as you made that sale. Face-to-face, of course, is something. Focus groups are still there, so you've got real time. You could be in a mall or somewhere, and you could be grabbed for a focus group. And then call centers, because when you're in a call center, you can have, text analytics going on and voice recognition software that's playing in the background, and you can hear, executives can then, key in on those calls, and you can hear that all really real time.
We had one of our shows with Sheila McGee-Smith, and we were talking about speech analytics, and that is extremely important now in the call center, because you can go real time live and actually listen for a trigger word that perhaps one of your customers have said, and then all of a sudden you're getting all these analytics and great feedback about the customer.
Right. And in fact, you just specifically, that's what you do. You put in, let's use it up, customer experience, on time. You put on all these text, these text, voice, or speech recognition in that software, and that's coming out. You'll see all those calls that have that information in it. It's really amazing what technology's done.
It's come a long way, baby. When they say those words, it's true. It is very true.
No, absolutely. And then post experience, there's email surveys, there's receipt. When you get a receipt from a customer from a store. Right, you've got call this 800 number, or there's actions that the customer can take on that. There's still that mobile feedback. There's still telephone surveys and live agent collection. Whether someone's trying to get information right there. And then the last feedback is just on the social media platform, because that is again another area. There are companies and vendors out there that their sole purpose is to really monitor what's going on in that social web, whether it's in Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, any forums, in terms of like technology forums or user forums, where they're monitoring what's going on with your brand.
Right.
And
today, I think too, is that you're more than likely to say positive things on social media. A lot of people still think it's only for the bad things or what you did or what, and it would be kind of nice as we could spread the word, talk about the good things on social media.
Well, that's a good optimistic view of things, Laura. I love to hear that. I love that. I love it. Yeah, I love it.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so now we know that we have to have a program, a voice of the customer or voice of the patient. What are our steps?
Well, I think there are many steps to success. All right, and this needs to be planned, though. It's something that needs to be integrated to the roots of what your business is about. And so the first thing I say here is really, you consider a management software solution. There are vendors out there, and just to name a few, Medallia is someone that I'm familiar with because they work with a lot of large customers. There's Allegiance, there's Verint, but there are software solutions
that you can
and they can help you. But the thing is to define it. What is the key business issue? And you really want to just start with one or two touch points, especially if you're just starting out.
Don't go and say,
I got it.
Because what happens is when you have a program, regardless of what it is, if you want to tackle everything at once, folks, it's going to fail. So you have to do it in phases and take it one step at a time.
Absolutely. So you define and then you design, right? So then to start to really design those tactical and strategic benefits to what that will do for your business. You're trying to impact customer service, you're trying to grow sales. Like what is that question? What is it designed around? And then what channel your customers find the most engaging? I just had that laundry list of things on that slide before.
Right.
That does not mean that all of those things apply to every customer and every company. So it's just you have to know where your customers
and
feed
that's
in there.
important too, because your customer relation management database should be able to say, how would you like us to communicate with you? So then when you're surveying or you're gathering information, follow those same tracking mechanisms for that. So now let's close the loop. We've got, we determined that we want one. We now have the software to do it. When do we go?
Well, so you've set it up, all right? And now what's interesting here is that you now have to disseminate those findings, right? You have to get some type of dashboard reporting down, hopefully to your front line, because where the rubber meets the road is that your frontline sales force. So what's happening? It doesn't make sense to keep all of the executive analytics, tied up with what's happening with what's happening. What does the customer think? Get that information, disseminate that information, and then you look, diagnose and discuss the trends, right? So what's happening? Why? What are we seeing? Are we seeing things that customers, they're not getting what they want the first time? Service is slow. They're not being communicated with. They're understand that.
So what you're saying then is that feedback that you're getting is go now to the real folks who are dealing with that customer perhaps on that particular channel.
Absolutely.
And then say, okay, let's see what's going on. How can we correct it? That's great.
Absolutely.
That's excellent.
Right. And then you prioritize them, right? Again, not the laundry list, right? Take your top 3 key drivers. And then just figure out how you're going to come up with some new concepts, some new plans, and then basically deploy and take action. Implement a few action plans, not a whole list of things.
Right.
Pick your top 2 or 3 drivers and make some change.
And that truly is so important, especially when you're dealing with massive projects like this. And let's say all of a sudden, a massive amount of things came back in your surveys and you're going, oh my God, am I really that bad? And the issue is, no, you're not. It's just, take little steps. Let the customers see that actions are happening. Let your staff see that things are happening. And, you really have a very successful, voice program.
Absolutely.
So, of course, our infamous slide of think-abouts. So these are Susan's think-abouts for us.
Well, these are just my final thoughts on this, is that really setting up a voice of a customer program is really vital for your business's success. It's just something that will sustain you and grow you for the future. It's all about creating profits, and try to move on. And that NPS, as I mentioned before, is really just one baseline. There are many, but this is really the new standard staple of the industry.
Plus, it's simple.
It's very simple.
It's just so simple.
It's so simple. And then really, again, design an integrated approach, just to focus on the business goals. It doesn't have to be, one way to do it. Just integrate it with what's happening with your business as well. And then listen to multiple channels, or the channels that your customers are doing business in as well, or the channels that your target customers participate in. And then share that information with your teams so that you can wrap it up and get it all together to take action.
Well, believe it or not, that was great wording for us on the wrap-up. We are almost out of time. However, we do have a Twitter question that came in. And even though we kind of really formulated guidance. This person wants to know, what should I really do first? I'm only a company of 50 people, but my boss is saying we need to have a voice of the customer program. What should I do first?
Well, what you should do first is to take time to plan for a program and understand what you're going to drive to, what are you driving for, right? And so, again, this is about customer loyalty and get customers to get their friends and family, right, to refer to your product.
Right.
Again, whether you get a software solution, you get a small group of folks in your business, and really focus on what you're trying to get to.
And start small. You don't have to go out to your 1,000 customers. Take 20 and see how your Voice of the Customer program is going to work out.
Absolutely.
So it's been great. I am so happy that you were able to join us again.
This is good.
Would like to kind of reconfirm to reach Susan if you have any questions about what she discussed today. Her Twitter account is at Susan Hayes1. Her Gmail account, Hayes SA1, and certainly her cell phone is 917-846-9776. And to reach me, and the reason I have that there, folks, if you have a question or if you have an issue that you would like us to find a guest, please feel free to contact me at Laura Sikorski via Twitter and do a direct message. And certainly you can contact the Daily Blue, which is our producer of this show, whom we really appreciate. And their phone number is 631-761-9223. And next week, our guest will be Lisa Renee Pomerantz. She's an attorney at law. And this will be a very interesting topic for us, and it's avoiding and resolving disputes with customers, vendors, and employees. So with that, I want to thank you for clicking in, and guys, have a perfect day.